Welcome to Short Movie Channel. The movie starts with a beautiful girl named Niel. It's clear that Niel was unconscious, and she was in a coma. When she wakes up from her state, she finds herself in a strange, terrifying room with nothing in it except a digital clock and a big board with the number 9 written on it. What's strange is that Niel has also lost her memory. She doesn't remember anything about herself, nor does she know how she ended up in this place, or what exactly happened to her. She tries to find someone to help her and explain what's going on, but she discovers that the door is locked from the outside, and there's no way to open it. She keeps banging on the door and calling out, hoping someone will hear her and open it, but no one answers. At that moment, she realizes she has been kidnapped and is trapped in that place. She starts to get scared and more anxious when she notices that the digital clock in the room has started working, counting the time down. She starts searching the room for anything that could help her escape and finds a red rope. She approaches it, continuing to search until she discovers a phone underneath it. She grabs the phone and immediately tries to call for help, hoping someone will rescue her. However, she realizes that there is no signal on the phone, and she won't be able to make any calls. The phone is useless, and she quickly loses hope with it. She begins to search for another way out of the room or anything that could help her understand what's going on. By chance, she sees blood on the floor, which makes her even more terrified and anxious. She doesn't know what to do in the terrible situation she's in. Suddenly, the light in the room changes color, turning green. This sudden change frightens Niel, and she sits on the floor scared. But before long, the light returns to its normal color, and she calms down a little. She picks up the phone again and starts scrolling through it, hoping to find something that could explain what's happening. But she only finds images of natural landscapes, like seas and oceans. She even finds a picture of a woman, but she can't figure out who this woman is. Still, she talks to the woman in the picture so that she doesn't feel alone and doesn't get more anxious. But then, she notices the number 9 on the shirt of the woman in the picture. This makes her think and confuse her even more, increasing the mystery for her. The situation becomes even more puzzling for Niel when she spots an opening in the ceiling of the room. She looks out at the sky through the glass, and the opening has a handle to open it. She tries to jump and grab the handle to open it and escape, but she can't reach it. So, she takes off her shoe and throws it at the handle, hoping someone will open it for her, but again, it's all in vain. She gives up hope and grabs the phone again, throwing it at the wall in frustration. She starts trying to break the wall around the opening, hoping to widen it and get through. But then, she discovers that there's another wall behind the one she's trying to break. She feels even more frustrated and loses hope once again. At that moment, the digital clock reaches 15 minutes, and the alarm goes off, and the lights in the room flicker. She gets even more terrified by the darkness, but when the lights return, she notices that the lock on the door has opened. She rushes to the door, but finds another wall blocking it. She tries again to think of a way to escape the strange place. Suddenly, as she's standing there, she sees the clock change to 45 minutes, and the countdown begins. At this point, Niel is terrified because she has no idea what will happen when the 45 minutes are up. She becomes more anxious and starts cursing the clock in a frustrated manner. It's clear she's starting to lose control over herself. Then, she hears a voice repeating the curse words she had just said. The voice comes from a vent in the wall. She approaches the vent and tries to communicate with the person, asking him what's going on. She notices that the person repeats everything she says, speaking in a strange way, almost as if he's programmed. She tries to connect with him, telling him her name. The person responds and introduces himself as Travis. He tells her that he's also trapped in a room and doesn't know how he got there, and he doesn't remember anything either. Afterward, he starts asking her about the room she's in. She tells him about the room's features and mentions the digital clock and the big board with the number 9 on it. He tells her that his number is 6, and asks if there's anything else in her room. She tells him that there's a rope and a ceiling opening, but it's too high for her to reach. He suggests that she use the rope to reach the handle of the opening. This is something she hadn't thought of before, and she decides to try it. At this point, we notice that someone is watching her through a camera in the room. It's clear that the person is really enjoying what he's seeing. We return to Niel in the room, who has taken the rope and is trying to reach the handle. Eventually, she manages to secure the rope to the handle, and she starts swimming toward the opening. She's getting close to escaping the room, but suddenly, the handle breaks, and Niel falls to the ground due to the force of the fall. She wakes up to the sound of Travis calling her name. He's extremely worried about her, and wants to make sure she's okay. She sits down to rest for a bit, and tries to pass the time by talking with Travis. Travis tells her not to give up because there are many ways to escape the room other than the ceiling opening. Niel is confused by his words and starts to suspect that he's the one who kidnapped her. She confronts him directly and asks if he was the one who did it. Travis tells her that he didn't do anything, and that there's another person who locked them in this place. Niel continues talking to Travis about their situation, and suddenly, while they're chatting, someone enters the room with Travis. She hears Travis groaning in pain, and it's clear that someone is beating him up. Niel is terrified and tries to calm herself down. After a while, Travis's moans stop, so she goes to check on him and make sure he's okay. She asks him about the person who was hitting him. Travis answers strangely, saying that the person wasn't torturing him, but rather helping him and fixing him. However, Niel doesn't pay much attention to his words and thinks he's rambling from the effects of the beating. She reassures him, telling him that they will get out of this place as soon as possible. Niel then goes back to searching for something that could help them escape. She notices a wire coming out of the wall but doesn't know what to do with it. She continues talking to Travis, and while they're chatting, she feels something strange in her shoulder, like something has been implanted under her skin. She's surprised because she doesn't feel any pain in that area. She asks Travis if he's noticed anything weird about his body, and he tells her that something strange has indeed been implanted in him, but it's in his leg, not his shoulder. While they're talking, Niel comes up with a good idea. She can use the broken handle to unscrew the ventilation cover. She grabs the handle and starts unscrewing the screws. After a while, she's able to remove the ventilation cover and asks Travis to unscrew the ventilation cover in his room so they can figure out a solution together. Travis also begins unscrewing his ventilation cover but tells her it'll take time because his head hurts from the beating and he's not focused. Niel smiles and tells him to take his time. She doesn't pressure him, even though there are only 10 minutes left on her timer, and she has no idea what will happen after those 10 minutes. She's obviously anxious and scared. She then goes to check the wire coming out of the wall while Travis works on the ventilation cover. She keeps pulling the wire until she reaches the end of it. At that moment, Niel realizes that the person who kidnapped them must have planted the camera to spy on them without their noticing. She takes the camera and breaks it. At that point, the connection is cut off. She returns to talk to Travis and finds that he still hasn't been able to unscrew his ventilation cover. She gets upset and tries to help him. On her way to Travis's room, she notices a green light in the middle of the hallway. As soon as she passes the light, an alarm sounds loudly, causing her intense pain. She rushes back to her room quickly and covers her ears to block out the noise. However, she realizes she's been injured in her shoulder while trying to get through the ventilation opening, and the wound is in the same place where she had felt something strange under her skin. She discovers an advanced electronic chip under her skin but doesn't understand its purpose. Travis cuts into her thoughts, telling her he's given up and can't open the ventilation cover in his room. Niel looks at the timer and sees that there's only 1 minute left. She asks him to forget about the screws and to try to force the ventilation cover open. Travis attempts to follow her instructions, and he finally manages to open the ventilation cover. At that moment, the timer starts beeping and the time runs out. When the time is up, an iron wall appears between them, preventing them from communicating with each other. Then, a hole appears in the iron wall, and inside the hole is a gun. Niel grabs the gun and starts thinking about how to use it. She shoots at the hole in the ceiling, which is made of glass, and it breaks. She ties the rope and throws it out through the ceiling hole, and it catches on something outside. She begins to climb the rope until she finally exits that cursed room. However, she realizes that the hole doesn't lead her out of the place like she thought. Instead, she finds herself in a locked room. There's a large screen in front of her, displaying the sky she had seen from the hole. She's confused and ends up in a room marked Travis, and on the screen it says, "The End." She tries to enter Travis's room from above to understand what happened to him, and finds out that he had a gun like hers. But instead of thinking about how to use it to escape, he killed himself. At this point, Niel is shocked and doesn't believe what's happening until someone enters the locked room she's in. She quickly hides, and when she makes sure the person can't see her, she escapes through the door they came in. As she's running, she realizes that she's in a company, and sees a picture of the woman who had appeared on the phone, hanging in the company. It says that this woman is the founder of the company. Niel is completely confused until the person she tried to escape from appears behind her, and his name is Edgar. The moment Niel sees him, she starts remembering what happened to her and believes that Edgar is the one who kidnapped her and locked her in the room. She tries to escape, but he presses a button on a device he's holding, and strangely, this device completely paralyzes her, making it impossible for her to move or control her body. Afterward, Edgar presses another button on the device, making her lose consciousness. When she wakes up, Edgar starts explaining everything to her, and this is when the big surprise comes. We find out that he's the CEO of a famous robot company, whose job is to manufacture robots powered by artificial intelligence that serve humans. These robots are made to look exactly like humans, and they can feel emotions like fear, anxiety, tension, and almost all human emotions. The robots have electronic chips implanted in them to control them and their nerves. It turns out that Niel and Travis are both robots at the company, with Niel being robot number 9 and Travis being robot number 6. Edgar is the one who put them in the room to test them, their emotions, and their intelligence to see if they could escape the room. Of course, Travis failed the test because in the end, he killed himself, while Niel managed to succeed in the test. But when Niel discovers all of this and realizes they were deceiving her and playing with her emotions, she's deeply shocked. The shock causes a malfunction in her system, which makes her break down. That's why Edgar has the staff test her again, to fix her and prepare her to be sold in the markets. Of course, Travis will also be tested along with Niel, and they will both stay in this cycle until they pass the test. Eventually, Niel is placed back in the cursed room, this time with Travis, to start the torment once again. The film ends here. If you enjoyed the film, make sure to like, subscribe, and share the channel.